All right. Welcome back to the Know Your Numbers REI podcast. This is your host, Chris McCormack, and we are going to be continuing our conversation on the 6 keys to increasing your real estate revenue. If you're new to the show, maybe somebody sent this to you. Maybe you just found us through searching for real estate tax advice or small business tax advice or real estate accounting podcasts. My name is Chris McCormack. As mentioned, I am a CPA and certified tax planner. I also hold an MBA in accounting, and it is our job, it is our mission here at Better Books to help equip investors and business owners with confidence in their financial decisions. We also eliminate the frustration that many Americans feel with the amount of money that they give to the US government by keeping more money in your account. And we do that through proactive tax planning and a real estate expertise. And we have been discussing over the past few weeks the 6 keys to increasing real estate revenue. So if this is your first episode, I would encourage you to go back and listen to the previous 3 episodes, as the first week we covered an introduction, kind of glossed over all 6 keys. And in the past 2 weeks, we went through key number 1 and key number 2. They have to deal with getting your books in order and then remaining on top of it by having the right habits to build upon and keep your books in order. And now that you have got your books in order, you have proven to yourself that you're able to do it on a regular basis, or maybe you've delegated it out to somebody who can do it on a regular basis. It is time to dive into key number 3, which is the importance of performance monitoring to build confidence or help you make decisions in changing market. And the key to this line that I like to make sure that all of our clients are aware of, all of our listeners are aware of, is that you can't manage what you don't measure, right? Maybe you've heard this in the entrepreneurial space. Maybe you've heard this in the physical fitness space. We are firm believers that you can't manage what you don't measure. And if you are, say, looking to manage your weight from a health perspective, you need to be measuring certain things so that you can determine whether you're in line or out of line with desired outcome, the goal, right? And you do this by managing or measuring the number of calories you take in. You measure the workouts that you're doing on a regular basis. You measure your weight gain or loss on a regular basis. And by doing so, you are then managing your health. You're managing your weight. You're managing your physical fitness. So we have this, whether we realize it or not, we do this in other industries. The health industry is one of the easiest to point to, but I would also point to our education industry, right? We manage our grades in classes by measuring it on a scale of A, B, C, D, and F. And we know that if we get a F or a D or even a C or even a B, well, there's something that we can do to improve upon it. And we're taking that same approach when we're looking at your finances, when we're looking at your performance as a real estate investor, as a business owner. We want to measure your performance through up-to-date bookkeeping and tracking the numbers, right? This is the Know Your Numbers REI podcast. It is ever more important to know your numbers once you start to clean up your books and develop those habits. Now it's on you, the business owner or your team, to actually measure those numbers, to check in. How are you doing on a profit basis? How are you doing on a cash flow basis, right? If you're in the commercial industry, one of the ways that you get investors in the door is by pointing them to your projected cash on cash return. Now, how are you doing in measuring up with that projected cash on cash return? That's not just something you go and promote to somebody as, we expect to get a cash on cash return of 12% or whatever it is. Now you have to actually see, are we making good on that promise? And if not, what do we need to do to change? We do this by knowing our numbers, by measuring our ROI, our expenses. How much are you paying in interest costs? How much are you paying in utilities? How much are you paying in repairs and maintenance and rehab and cleaning? These are all things that you as the business owner are responsible for. You can say I ran 5 miles, but you only know that by measuring it. And the same goes for business. You can say that you're spending $1,000 in interest, but you only know that by measuring it and detailing it and checking up. So it's on you as the business owner, as the investor, to not only keep good records, but to use those records to determine your performance. And right now, more than ever, with rising costs, rising interest rates, we need to see, where are we performing on a property by property basis? Is this property performing to our expectations, or is it lower than expectation? That way you can determine, do I need to raise my rents? Do I need to sell this property? Do I need to refinance? These are all decisions that should be calculated and not based on emotions. Too many people get into the real estate industry out of an emotional complex. They hear that it's the end all be all to their financial problems. And then they get in and they're drowning in debt because they not only took out a mortgage, but they took out a line of credit to get the property to an operating position. And now they're not even cash flowing, right? So we don't want that to be you. We want you to know your numbers and to use your numbers to empower yourself and to help you make these decisions in trying times, right? A lot of our clients and a lot of the investors that we see are changing the way that they operate and manage their properties during this time when materials are so expensive, when interest rates are on the rise, when they have to compete on a rental rate perspective, right? A lot of our clients have either raised rents or they've offloaded some of the expenses that they've had on their books to the tenant, right? We have met with a lot of investors in this past month for a variety of reasons. And I am amazed at the number of people that are now turning to their tenants to be responsible for the maintenance of their property. But that's something that might need to be done. And you can only determine if that's necessary by knowing your numbers and measuring the performance of your property, of your business. This goes for real estate just as much as it goes for the grocery store down the street, just as much as it goes for the sporting goods store down the street or the accounting business, right? In our business, we have to measure our numbers and determine where we are on a performance basis. Are we measuring up to the goals that we set out for? And if not, what needs to change? It all comes down to knowing your numbers, to measuring it. So you got your books in order on step one. That's key number one. Now you're implementing the habit on a regular basis. And now your habit is being assessed. You're measuring your numbers and now you're managing your business by knowing your numbers. And if you're like, okay, but I don't even understand what my numbers are telling me, it's on you to reach out to the right team, right? And this is where a strong accountant will come into play. It's been said that accounting is the language of business. You can determine whether a company or a property is performing well by looking at their accounting records, by knowing their numbers. It communicates something to you. And now if you don't understand the language of accounting, it does you no good to keep good records and stay on top of it, but not know what the numbers are telling you, right? I can go to Spain, but if I don't know the language or at least have somebody by my side that knows the language, I'm lost without hope because I can't tell you which way is east and west. I can't tell you how I get to Madrid or Barcelona or any of the other cities that might be in Spain. Same thing goes in business. If I am cleaning up my books, if I have my records up to date, but if I am looking to get somewhere in my business and I don't know what my numbers are communicating to me, I'm lost, I'm confused, I'm worried, I'm stressed. And that's not what you want as a business owner. You want confidence, you want clarity, you want peace of mind. And that comes through measuring and managing your numbers well. So this is the third key to increasing your real estate revenue. Now we've talked about the first two keys. This one is important because this is actually where the rubber meets the road. You're like, okay, how does getting my books in order, how does keeping good habits increase my real estate revenue? It really starts to take form in this third piece where it's like, okay, now that I have those good habits, I can now look at my numbers. I can now look at the records and determine, do I need to increase my rent? Can I go out and buy that next property? Do I have the cash flow to manage my lifestyle? And the answers to those will help you increase your revenue, increase your portfolio, increase the peace of mind. So it is all coming together. And that's why no one key is left without the other. All 6 of them are used to increase your real estate revenue and grant you the peace of mind that you got into real estate for in the first place. So this has been another episode of the Know Your Numbers REI podcast. If you are completely lost and have no idea what I'm talking about, the 6 keys to increase real estate revenue, go ahead and check out the link that is in the show notes. There is an ebook that is available to all of our listeners for free about the 6 keys to increase real estate revenue. There's a lot of case studies in there about our clients who have used these keys to really benefit themselves. On this note, on key number 3, we have a client, Kate and Penelope. I've talked about them in previous episodes, but they are a picture-perfect example of this. By getting their books in order, they were now able to understand their business. They were able to understand their profit. They were understanding their tax liability. And by doing so, it gave them confidence, but it also gave them clarity as to what decisions they can or cannot make. Here in Better Books, we dive into our numbers on a regular basis. You heard about that on the last episode. But then on a more spread out basis, maybe once a quarter, we do a deep dive into our numbers. We do a tax projection to understand what we're looking at from a tax perspective. What can we do now with the money that we have set aside for taxes, but probably won't need for taxes because our taxes are lower than we have budgeted for because of the tax planning steps we've taken into account. This is only possible when you know your numbers, when you're measuring them. Now you can manage your business like the business owner, like the real estate investor that you are. It's a game changer, and I want you all to begin implementing this. And again, if you don't know what the numbers are telling you, it is time to reach out to an expert. Same thing goes in the medical industry. I can have a heart condition. I can have pain in my heart that worries me. But if I don't go to a doctor who specializes in it, a cardiologist who can measure my heart rate and check for my symptoms, ask me questions, and understand what the implications of that heart condition are, I am lost. I'm just going to spiral into this endless cycle of worry and fear and anxiety. So you need an expert. You need somebody to help you see what you don't see, uncover the blind spots that are hidden in your numbers. Again, Know Your Numbers, REI podcast, Chris McCormack. If you got any sort of value out of this, go ahead and share it with a friend. It helps us get into the eyes and ears of people who need to hear this. This is so important for all real estate investors, especially in today's age where there's uncertainty in the economy. There's uncertainty with properties and what's going to happen. And then if you like this, do us a favor, subscribe, leave us a 5-star rating and review. If you're on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and leave us a written review. It helps us and it helps others as well. God bless you. Keep moving forward.